Alright, looks like we got ourselves a big trade that just took place this week. Arguably, this is probably one of the biggest trades that we have seen so far this year. Move over Russell Wilson, move over Tyreek Hill, move over Matthew Tkachuk. This trade takes the cake. Arguably, this is probably going to be the only trade that people are going to be talking about, and most likely more of a game changer, if anything. So we're going to be breaking it down, talking about who wins, who loses, and also why we may have gotten fleeced in this deal. So ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be talking about the biggest and most anticipated trade of the year, the Brittney Griner trade. So if you guys haven't heard already, which most of you should have already known by now, the US has made a very big trade, a blockbuster of a trade with Russia in acquiring WNBA star Brittney Griner. Now, pretty much everybody knew that we were going to trade for her at some point, right? You know, there were a ton of analysts who already knew and guaranteed that we were going to get her and acquire her in a trade. Now, the story goes is that around early February, right when the war on Ukraine started, you know, around February, March, this is when Russia started to invade Ukraine, and this is when the war started. Griner was arrested and detained in Russia, all because she happened to carry CBD cartridges in her luggage while going to Russia. As a result, she was charged, she was sentenced, and placed in a gulag, all because she carried CBD cartridges. Now, I understand that anything cannabis is illegal in Russia, but the punishment that Griner got is to most Americans considered harsh or cruel and unusual if you want to go by the 8th Amendment. I mean, come on, you're literally locked up in a Russian prison. Now, obviously, this is exactly why the US has been in trade rumors for Griner. It really wasn't a matter of if we're going to trade, but when we were going to trade, and who are we going to trade for, and who else we might get in this trade. I mean, she was literally being locked up in a Russian gulag just for carrying CBD oil. Now, I never really covered this story as much because I don't really watch the WNBA, and quite frankly, could care less, but at the same time, it kind of is a big fucking issue when, you know, an American is literally being held prisoner in a foreign country that also happens to be an authoritarian regime that is currently bombing and invading another country. So of course it's no goddamn deal that this situation turned out to be such a huge fucking deal. The story was pretty much unavoidable. Fast forward to today, almost 10 months later, the trade has officially been announced. Now, I want you to picture this trade in your head. What in your head would a Griner trade look like to you? What did we have to get rid of? What else are we acquiring in this trade? We already know we're going to get Brittney Griner in this trade, right? We already know that. What else are we getting out of this? You know, are we getting a first round pick? Are we getting a second round pick? Who knows? Maybe we also traded our first round pick to acquire Griner as well. You know, there's been a lot of ideas that have been floating around of what this Griner trade could end up looking like. Maybe, just maybe, we can also acquire Paul Whelan and Mark Fogel from that trade as well. Now, if some of you guys don't know who these people are, Paul Whelan is a US Marine who was arrested in Russia and was sentenced to 14 years in prison there for espionage. Now, Paul Whelan is a US Marine. He served in our country. He's a soldier. He is a US soldier who's currently being held prisoner in Russia for false espionage. Mark Fogel, on the other hand, is a teacher and a coach who got arrested in Russia for literally the same exact crime Griner got arrested for, and I believe is serving the exact same sentence, if I remember correctly, as Griner. And then on the US side of things, you have Victor Bout, who has been given the nickname of the Merchant of Death, who is a Soviet arms dealer and terrorist who was captured here in the United States, I think about 15 years ago, and he was arrested for conspiracies to kill US nationals, conspiracies to kill US officers and or employees, weapon trafficking, smuggling, conspiracy to acquire, transfer, sell, and use anti-aircraft missiles, as well as providing material support and weapons to designated foreign terrorist organizations. You know, he sold weapons to the Taliban, he also sold weapons to Al-Qaeda and ISIS and these groups, Boko Haram, and this is why he's been given this nickname of Merchant of Death. Go and watch the film Lord of War. Great movie, totally explains and personifies that situation pretty well. So we basically got that trade locked out right here. We trade Victor Bout to Russia, maybe include a few draft picks in there, you know, a first and a second round, maybe even next year's third round if we're that generous, in exchange for Brittany Griner, Paul Whelan, and Mark Fogel. That sounds like a fair trade. So we're getting rid of our captured Russian arms dealer and prisoner in exchange for 3 wrongfully imprisoned people, one of which is a US soldier who we are bringing back home, and the other 2 were arrested for marijuana possession. Finally, we're bringing Brittany Griner home, and we're bringing more people home as a result at long last. Bringing Brittany Griner home, bringing a troop home, and bringing somebody else home as well. So the trade has been announced, and you might think that the ideal trade that I just talked about could be the one that we're going with, and we're getting all 3 of them, right? Well, here's the trade. This is the confirmed trade that we're talking about. We are trading Victor Bout in exchange for Brittany Griner. That's it. That's the trade. No Paul Whelan, no Mark Fogel. We're not even sending our own draft picks. It's just a one-on-one trade. So we're just gonna leave the other people behind and just leave them there to rot in a Russian prison. All I'm going to say about this trade is we got fleeced. We got fleeced. What can I tell ya? Yes, it might be a great thing that Griner is finally coming back home to the US, but we are prioritizing a WNBA player over a US soldier who served our country, and a teacher who was arrested for the same crime as Griner. This is why this is such a controversial trade. You're basically trading one of our captive terrorists for a basketball player, a WNBA player who hasn't said any of the kindest things about America, and you're trading an arms dealer for her, and her only, while we leave a US soldier behind and a teacher behind who was charged for the same crime as that basketball player. So fuck those 2 guys. The only thing we care about bringing home is bringing Brittany Griner home. Those 2 guys could rot in the Russian prison for life. Fuck Paul Whelan, fuck Mark Fogel, we're bringing Brittany Griner home. That's essentially what this is. Now, why would a US soldier being held captive in Russia get snubbed for a WNBA player? Because you might know, if Trump were to leave a soldier behind, the legacy media will obviously call for his head. And by the way, as you guys recall, this is not the first time that our administration has left a soldier behind. I'll tell you why Griner was chosen over these 2 individuals, or why she was the only one and not all 3 of them are brought home anyway, since we do need to bring all our captive Americans home from authoritarian regimes like Russia. The reason why Biden didn't bring those 2 guys home along with Griner is because it would look unwoke. Of course, the left have been obviously celebrating this, ignoring the fact that 2 guys have been snubbed. They care more about Griner and Griner only because she's black, she's lesbian, she's a basketball player, she ticks all of the woke boxes. So theoretically speaking, what if you can only choose one person you can bring home from Russia? I mean, it would have been possible to bring all 3 realistically, but what if there was no choice and you had to bring one person home? Well, if Biden were to choose either Whelan or Fogel over Griner, Joe Biden would end up looking like the old racist white man. Oh, he's just doing this. He's throwing Griner under the bus and ignoring Brittany Griner because she's not a straight white male. Think about it this way, and no, I am not attacking his decision for bringing back Brittany Griner home. I think she deserves to be brought home. Everybody who's being held captive in Russia should be brought home to America. Russia is an authoritarian regime, but still, you're basically snubbing an American soldier for a basketball player for woke reasons. Doesn't that make you look stupid? Ideally, it would be great to bring all 3 of them home. That should be the main target anyway, but you're only fixated on one of them because the others don't tick enough boxes on the woke checklist. That kind of makes you look stupid. There's a US soldier out in Russia who is falsely accused of espionage, who's being locked up for 16 years in a Russian prison, and another dude charged with the same crime as Griner, locked up for 14 years, and we're bringing back only one of them, and leaving the other guys behind, including a US soldier. Obviously, this is a reoccurring pattern we notice with the left. Kamala Harris was chosen for her gender and the color of her skin, not the content of character. She's not even that well liked even within her own party. Buttigieg was a small town mayor of a blue-collar town in the middle of the Rust Belt that you've never heard of. Somehow he's transport secretary. You notice that people that got passed over for these promotional roles within the administration, or in the case of the situation that we're seeing here, who we trade or who we bring home normally don't check as many boxes on the woke checklist as people that they put in certain positions or who we specifically bring home from an authoritarian regime. Paul Whelan and Mark Fogel don't tick any of the woke boxes, therefore we're not bringing them home. VP, Transport, HUD Secretary, Press Secretary, nuclear officials. I mean, I just mentioned that because this goes back to what happened with Sam Brenton. They just got charged a second time because they stole a woman's luggage in a different airport twice in less than a week. Doesn't that sound a little bit concerning for somebody with that high of a security clearance? Especially if they're in charge of our nuclear arsenal. This goes back to that actually. If you staff a nuclear plant with people that are not really qualified, only because you demand that that particular plant be more diverse and that the workplace in that nuclear plant be more inclusive, so therefore you've got people that were only picked not because of their scientific expertise or their work ethic or anything about their character other than what skin color they have or what their gender is, what their sexual orientation is, or what religion they practice. That's a concern. I said this before that ability is more important than diversity, and unfortunately, people like David Hogg will instead call you bigoted and will insist that a workplace needs to be more diverse for pragmatic reasons. You can also do both. Ability and diversity. That's what Vivzy Pop does for her studios, and a lot of the people that she hired to work with in a lot of her projects actually are incredibly talented, but they have to be good at what they do in order for them to get the job. You can't really fixate on one thing alone, or you'll probably end up with a Homer Simpson situation. Well, you know, the risks and dangers of nuclear energy aren't really that bad when you really think about it. You know, if I choose to make a TikTok video right now dancing around in the control room and randomly pressing buttons, I'm sure that it won't trigger any problems. It's not like I'm gonna, you know, shut off a generator or flood everything full of radioactive compounds or anything like that. It's not like the nuclear plant is gonna shut down or it's gonna melt down or have some other issue going on, leading to a Chernobyl situation. It's perfectly fine. I think we already get the point now. I needed to use that as an example because this is somehow related to this trade. So in conclusion, yes, I am glad that Brittany Griner's coming home. I'm glad that she's finally out of that Russian prison, but I think trading the Merchant of Death just for her and her only and leaving people behind is a very bad call, and all in all, this was a poor trade. We could have been able to do more to actually trade for all three, which was doable, but instead, we're just bringing one person home only because of who they are and leaving the rest behind. Regardless of how you look at this trade, it was a fleece. Congratulations, Joe. You've just officially managed to make Chuck Fletcher and Kyle Dubas look more competent than you.
You blew it!
So anyways, guys, with all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed, be sure to hit that like button down below, and if you're new around here, be sure to subscribe to the channel and ring the little notification bell. Be sure to follow me on all my social medias, links are in the description below. There are also links on the description to several other sites that I use besides YouTube. All three of them are also in the link down in the description below, as well as other new tech sites that I use. Be sure to share this video around with all your friends, families, boyfriends, girlfriends, enemies, whomever. Share this video, it definitely helps out a lot. And be sure to leave a comment and see what you guys think about this trade. Do you think this trade was fair? Do you think this trade was a fleece? Who won the trade? Did the US win? Did Russia win? I promise I'll get off the sports jokes, but do you think we should have added extra draft picks in there as well? I'll always end the conversation down to you, so be sure to leave all your thoughts down in the comments below. And of course, join my Discord server. It will also be in a pinned comment, my Discord server, so you can talk to me, hang out, send me video ideas, play video games with me. And the Discord server is also another way to get notifications, just in case the notifications aren't working if you are subscribed. So be sure to join the server. Links in the description down below, as well as in a pinned comment. But anyways, guys, like, subscribe, ring notifications, and until then, take care, talk soon, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.